Roger, thank you very much to taking our interview.
My pleasure.
We are in Satoshi Vision's conference in Tokyo. This is a conference for Bitcoin Cash.
Because Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin.
Yes, of course. So this video, I wanted to take it for more like not just the Bitcoin Cash, but it's more for like a vision for future of what like society, world, like philosophy. It's because like I think it's at the end of the day, we try to do this for making society better, right? Not trying to destroy or not
to improve the world.
Yeah, improve the world. Yeah, I think that's there's a lot of fear when the society changes. Like we are getting like huge improvements of technology every single day, but like after information technology revolution happens, internet starts. It's that
the internet has already changed the world, but it's very clearly changed it for the better.
Yeah,
Bitcoin is going to change the world, but it very clearly is going to change it for the better.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a little personal question? Like,
sure.
How long have you been in Japan?
Been coming and going in and out of Japan for over 12 years now.
Are you a permanent traveler?
Yeah, depends on what that means. So I travel a lot. The next week I'll be in both Korea and Hong Kong.
Okay.
So,
I mean, it's like you're originally from United States. Grew up in California, right?
Right.
But like you have a deal with the government over there, and you kind of denounce this.
Sure, I'm no longer a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
That's one of the crowning achievements of my life.
And then right now you're the citizen of
a country in the Caribbean called St. Kitts. So I
yeah.
have a home there, and I just spent the last 5 months there, and it's wonderful over there as well.
I think like something we are seeing is with this, the new technology. We are feeling that border is less and less important, right? I mean, the Bitcoins, this global things. I'm a small scale miner in New York, but I don't need any permission from anybody to join this network, working with other people. It's essentially this Bitcoin network is like a company, like if providing a service, right, or a service is. It's like we don't really need one company like Facebook to provide the online service, but this crypto things can allow us, like blockchains, allow us to work in like globally, but like permissionless. Like before we could not do it. So like before if we try to do that, like a Coca-Cola, it's a kind of global company, but they need a branch all over, or like they need to incorporate each countries. But like Bitcoin, we don't need it. It's just we are one together. I think that's kind of like helping us to like overcome the barrier of the nations. What do you think?
I think people are realizing more and more that nation states are irrelevant. We have the internet, so we can talk to anyone anywhere in the world. And now we have cryptocurrencies, so we can transact financially with anyone anywhere in the world. And why should it make a difference where you happen to have been born or where you happen to live? Like, if you live on one side of some nation-state line versus the other, that doesn't alter the rules of morality. That doesn't make you any more or less of a person. Why should different rules of morality apply to different people in different parts of the world? I don't believe that it does.
I see. It's that the nation states is kind of like a new invention. It's like probably 300 years, maybe 200 years. In Japan, just 100 years, right? That's the modern government form. It's like my wife is a classical musician, so we studied like history of classical music in New York. But like many musicians or like composers, travel around Europe, with that passport, right? That time, so they don't really thinking about I mean, they go city to cities.
The passport is a
Yeah.
very recent invention.
Yeah.
It was not until World War I, a little over 100 years ago, that
Yeah.
people needed passports to travel anywhere. Before that, you just showed up and that was it. And you didn't have to get permission, you didn't have to have some silly passport. That's just a very recent invention.
And it's kind of like ironic that, you know, like all the stuff is coming from all over the world, right? These pens come from, you know, all the materials come from all over
Right.
the world, and so many people, you know, it's like that Milton Friedman would say, like one pen, you know, it's like thousands of people have to work together in the world.
There's
to
a
make
fantastic
it.
essay, maybe you've read, it's called I, Pencil by Leonard Reed.
Uh-huh.
And it talks about how there's not a single person alive on the planet that knows how to make a pencil. And at first that sounds crazy, but then he goes into all the detail of what's required to make a single pencil. And by the time you finish reading this essay, you'll realize that, wow, it's a miracle that a pencil gets made at all. It's a miracle of the free market and the price system that transmits the information and allows people all over the world to cooperate to create things as simple as a pencil and as complicated as an iPhone.
But like, yet then we are still living like not the complete or good, you know, like very inconvenient world in a way. I'm living in the US for 16 years. Every 3 years I have to apply for visa. And my visa application is like hundreds of pages.
And you're asking for permission from strangers
Yes,
to live in a place where the landlord is happy to have you live there, or if you bought something, like should be yours.
I own my property over there.
Yeah.
I don't have a right to stay in my home without asking government. That's really weird, but that's the situation is. But these things might going to change because I think this cryptocurrency, say this blockchain technology, can allow us to work together. And then before, some like service is really difficult to provide globally without some violence, like organizing violence, or that the government without government might be really difficult to provide, right? But like maybe post office really really difficult at one point, but that now like who cares if there's a post office or not, right? Maybe the currency, maybe they needed government at that point, maybe not, but it was kind of easy for them to do that. Use the government violence to enforce that single currency units, right? But now we don't need it, and so significance of like a Bitcoin, I guess Bitcoin is like fast blockchain, like usable blockchains, and if just my thinking, but. Maybe like 50 years from now, if like our kids reading or our grandkids reading history books, and then probably there like say, oh, Bitcoin was like a Pandora box to open up the power to take it's a Pandora box to take out the power of, I should say this way, the counterbox of competing currency. It took the power from the government to monopolize the money. Do you think that's? I think this gonna affect the government, but do you think this gonna be like how? So these things. How are we gonna this cryptocurrency? How are we gonna change this gonna change the governments, or what do you think? Like what kind of things are you seeing?
Just like the internet gave everybody the ability to communicate with anyone anywhere on the planet, cryptocurrencies now that give the ability to anyone to be able to transact financially with anyone anywhere on the planet. So that's a wonderfully liberating thing. It brings more economic freedom to the entire world and improves the lives of everybody. And I've given several presentations on that. You can find them on YouTube if you search for them.
So the something we're going to see probably is that so government is already losing the power of taxing inflation tax to people, and people can escape from inflation tax of printing fiat currency. Then next, we are discussing the conference, but the private technology is going to go to the blockchains, and many things is going to be private, right? And people cannot track. Government can track how much you owe, how much you spend, how much you get for income, how much you buy things. Then people might start concerning, not concerned for me, but they start losing the power of the taxation, which is good news for many people. I mean, like people like a libertarian, but like some people might worry about, oh, how are we gonna do this, like all the service, public service, which currently provided by government. How we gonna, maybe there's always some kind of needs for welfare, like charity kind of things, but like right now it's the government taking caring about it, right? Like waters or sewage or whatever, garbage collections and stuff. But how, like people like you, think that this kind of service is going to provide it in the future?
So the very definition of government is that it's a monopoly on violence in a particular area. And so when you ask how will water, how will garbage collection, how will schools, how will hospitals be provided without the government, the answer is that they will all be provided without the violence. And I don't know the exact ways in which the market will be able to figure out how to provide those services that people want, but anything at all that the technology exists to create and people want, there's a market for, and they wind up being created. So if people want garbage to be able to be collected from their house, the market will find a way. And if you don't have government collecting the garbage, it'll be done some other way without the violence inherent in the state.
And it's kind of interesting to see that sometimes people say, oh, like United States are a free country, or Japan is a free countries, but like a government budget of government is like almost reaching the 50% or 40% of GDP. So it's been like half of our societies run by the just inefficient government. So as you said, like if everything else can run by privately, maybe like there's a lot of potential for human to improve. Right? There's a lot of money are wasted. Like a lot of money are wasted, like bomb people over the world and killing or putting in prisons. But maybe this money might be freed up at some point, and maybe like entrepreneur, a lot of the entrepreneurs in the world can come, get into this public service and provide better, service, cheaper and better, faster. Do you think that this kind of thing is going to happen?
Yeah.
It's like this, more with like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or blockchain technology.
Sure, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin Cash specifically are going to bring more economic freedom to the world. More economic freedom means a faster rate of economic growth or more economic efficiency. And if the world is more efficient economically, everybody has a higher standard of living. Everybody becomes better off as a result, and the best way to do that is to shrink the amount of government that we have in society. If you look around the world, the countries with the most government have the lowest rates of economic growth, and the countries with the least government have the fastest rates of economic growth. So just look at North Korea versus South Korea, or East Germany versus West Germany, or on and on and on around the world. The places with the most economic freedom have the fastest rates of economic growth. And cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin Cash bring more economic freedom to the entire world, which means they bring more economic growth to the entire world, which means everybody has a better standard of living as a result.
In a way, like the currency is like right now it's a monopolized service by government, and we are kind of privatizing it through these blockchain technologies. Do you agree with that?
The more things that can be privatized, the better. Of course, I agree. Because if something's run by the state, it's run by threats of violence and run by funds that are collected with threats of violence, and it's run by a violent institution that claims a monopoly on the use of violence against peaceful people. And if you're opposed to using violence on peaceful people, you should be opposed to the state.
And do you agree this is like just the beginning?
Of course, it's just the beginning. Human society gets better and better year after year. Everything's improving. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started.
I don't know how many minutes we have.
Two more.
Okay. There's a lot of libertarians in our adopter of Bitcoin. But why is it? Like why does that? And do you think Satoshi was libertarian?
I think Satoshi was libertarian. I think there's two ways to become a libertarian. You can study economics, and you see all the economic inefficiencies caused by the state, or you can study moral philosophy, and you see just how incredibly immoral the state is. And when you look at Bitcoin, you see that Bitcoin is fairer morally and more economically efficient for the world. So, of course, libertarians are going to be involved in Bitcoin, whether they became a libertarian from the study of economics or from the study of moral philosophy. Bitcoin is fantastic on both fronts.
Last question. So I think usability is most important for important factor for the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. But like something I've seen is the lack of feedback loop from like user level to the like protocol level. Like there's no mechanism, to like propagate the information. It's like it's a lot of mistakes happening in the lower level, but like there's almost no mechanism to.
I think your camera stopped recording.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it didn't.
Okay.
Don't listen to me on that. So in the early days, I think you were right. There wasn't much of a feedback. So you had a bunch of companies getting a whole bunch of money from businesses outside of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So you had them raising, tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars from traditional banks and traditional financial companies. Today, you have all sorts of businesses like Bitcoin.com that earn 100% of our revenue is in Bitcoin, and we're helping fund development on the protocol itself of Bitcoin Cash. And so today you have businesses that actually earn their income in Bitcoin by serving Bitcoin users, helping to provide support and improvement to the protocol. Whereas previously you had a bunch of bankers coming in and providing money to these other companies that weren't serving Bitcoin users. Blockstream doesn't have a single Bitcoin end user that's using it, yet they were really strongly guiding the development of the protocol itself, and that was a problem.
Yeah, maybe that made that big difference, like because all the business side of the Bitcoin actually it seems like coming to Bitcoin Cash.
Everybody who actually uses Bitcoin as money is supporting Bitcoin Cash, and that was my timer saying I have another call I have to go to.
Well,
Thank you
very
so much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.